And then I'm just, when it starts, I'm just going to hold out. Look at what you're saying. You would take your mind then through the memories, because this earth could go a whole nother way for a long time. It could get dark, you could get disease and all that, and humans will still be living. It's just about what conditions will we be living in. We don't have to wait to that point. But if we're actually sitting back here and not accessing our spiritual power to fix this situation and acting like we're caught in like this double bind. We're stuck in these religions and thinking, oh man, I can't do anything with real power. Power doesn't come from me. I don't have no ego. Ego's not mine. And then you're sitting there being played and your world is being destroyed. And it's not about just the physical world, because what's going on here takes place in the mind and it takes place on a spiritual level first. Then this is the shadow. This is just the reflection of what is going on. So we see that image. Extraterrestrial. I tell you, all the ETs. One time I was in the ocean, right? I had my snorkel on, and I was really getting into snorkeling because I had to conquer this whole thing with the ocean. A lot of people are scared of deep water, right? And that's another embedded thing when a chakra doesn't develop. So I had to start going back out into the ocean and actually learning how to basically swim in deep water, which is actually not hard at all. It's actually easier to swim in deep, especially salt water, than it is to swim anywhere else. You can just float on your back if you get tired. But the reality is that when I started diving, because I saw this connection with dive, D-I-V-E, as die. And I said to myself, I said, once you become a diver, man, that's when you start learning how to take that thing down and bring it back up. You're not actually clinging to life, meaning that you're actually not so in this fear factor that you're allowing it to allow you to not explore, okay, all the things that are there for you. So if there's anything that you say, well, I don't feel comfortable with doing that, I don't feel like I'm ready to do that, and I'm saying it still be rational, but think about if your fears are actually holding you back from the full exploration of self and all-knowing, right? Because everyone's asking to be all-knowing but keeps judging. None of this makes sense. I'm here to tell you, you can't go anywhere doing that. You're being a piston, up, down, up, down, up, down, and that's generating power for something else. You're not a controller, though. You're not a person who's sending what we call the uploader, right? We're talking about how to get to that level. So I was in the ocean, I was diving, I started seeing these spines, right? And urchins, and they were shaped exactly like pentagrams. And I was like, man, I don't know, because the fear factor started kicked in. I was like, I don't know if these are man-made or what, because the way they were all organized. But later on, as I got home, I went to look for them, and I found them. They're specific genus. And I said, man, that's crazy, because seeing is something totally different. If you're seeing it on TV, like right now you're seeing it on TV, so that's only one level of it. But the reality is that when you see this stuff in person, you can feel it, and it feels otherworldly. So what I'm telling you is that the entire concept of extraterrestrials has come from the ocean, and they're still there. Many of them are being attacked by us because of our actions of not only eating them, or eating the things that are in their realm arena, that's their world. It's like somebody coming in our world and eating our world, right? But also, again, the constant attacking with waste and pollution. And then these organisms that are down there that you're not familiar with, you don't even care about. Like, you're not even thinking about anything that's not based on phi, right? That's what they say, that phi becomes the most beautiful or whatever. This was beautiful to us. That's why even when they bring it forward now, they wrap it in all these stories of this extraterrestrial craft running around picking up people. These beings do run around the astral plane, and they do have a high level of sentience. Let's keep going through this. This is not any specific order, but it looks like I pulled the one that I really wanted to show the most right now. And that's this siphon. Because it's not hard, and let me blow this up a little bit. It's not hard to see that this particular plant or life form, pod, has a chakra center and is working itself on some stage of development. And of course, this comes from Haeckel's book on radiolaria, which was a book that was written during the Enlightenment era as he got the funding to go across. Well, actually, he had access to not only the library that I'm going to show you here in a minute of these specimens, but also he had an excellent talent for drawing, so he bought it back. It's one of the only books that are like this. I've searched for more from the Enlightenment era. All of it's supposed to be burned. But anyway, if you notice, there's an advanced life form here. But here's the deeper part, if you don't want to believe in that. that the spores from every single thing that you're seeing on land that you're calling a tree is coming from these particular life forms from the ocean. And not people that do biology are already aware of that, but, we're not biologists. So let's give it to me straight up. Straight up, your fruit, your plants, your trees, your cucumbers, all of that come from the ocean. I wouldn't even be surprised if some of them made a transition from a aquatic life form or marine life form into what we call a vegetable or a fruit. Right? Like, think about it. You gotta open it up. Like, you gotta understand. You be a world builder. Like we did it hashtag the other day. Hashtag world builder. Here's another one. This is what I believe to be the incubators of our organs, in our cavities, in our structure. And because when you look at the body, it does bear, with the esophagus and all these different areas and wishbone and all this, it does bear certain resemblance to this geometry. But even deeper than that, if you understand that there was an organism that was actually living inside of this, you need to ask yourself, was that organism possibly our organs? Okay? Meaning that I'm proving here, and a lot of people are going to have to go back on every single thing that they believe, especially those with these degrees of false fire, falsiforus, that they're going to have to go in and say, well, the origins of life are not only from the ocean, but our organs or our origins are also from the ocean, but something put them all together, proving that there is some kind of creator, meaning a being that says, well, let's start this experiment and let's put this organ here, and we're calling that a heart now. Let's put this one here, because each of these have a different purpose. They have a different frequency or different capacity. And let me show some other ones here. And it allows them to function on with a specific job, specific duty. Like, because remember, if you become Baal or the Lord, you're still responsible for handling all the waste. If you become the ultimate generator, you're still responsible for being the sun. Like, the universe is not allowing any being to get away with using any frequencies or powers in the realm of the impossible without actually tying into the entire holographic perspective on some way or another, whether they want to or not. So when we wake up to this, things start becoming really simple and we flow with massive levels of energy. But look here, I come to bring it to you. I bring it to you on a silver platter, meaning in at least a definition that you can actually look at it. Let's get that up on the large screen here. And you see that, once again, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that if we play some tones at this, if you just looked at a tuning fork, that this thing would get to reverberating, especially with this shell on it. Like, this thing would just make its own beat, its own tone, its own rhyme. So how many more of these are still in the ocean? Advanced organisms still in some level of incubation, playing out their own tone, vibration, and frequency that's holding up the entire galactic spectrum of what we call existence, right? So then why wouldn't I? Because if you understand the real deal of this law, this rule, this creed, this covenant, this agreement, right? It's because it has a lot to do with being respectful. It has a lot to do with honoring, cherishing, okay? And this is all ancestry, meaning that you take care of your ancestors. Is that not Mary? I'm not talking about the one found at the Vatican. I'm talking about the one in the real ocean. Is that not a Maltese? I mean, come on now. I'm not blind, especially now that I'm awake. So it's easy for me to see that the ocean does have very advanced organisms, and they bear geometry that we're using now, but also has been usurped. Because if you go to these different books like A Bridge to the Light and these different novels on high levels of Masonic knowledge, supposedly, they take these symbols and they take credit for them. And then they give the geometry and they act like they're the ones. And then none of this bears a straight line. So that also lets you know that they're always lying. That they're always trying to draw a line to cloak the real identity of the curve or the spiral force. Right? Here we go some more. Incubation. Incubation is not a new thing, meaning that this cross that you see on these points is the same that you would witness on the earth. That's why they use the symbol of the cross. And if you notice, this design is exactly identical to the design of earth with its hollow center and its central sun, right? Or its generator. Okay? And let me start back over here so nothing is left out. But again, chagrin. If these people think, like all these people running around here, that pentagram comes from these folks with these goats and all this, that's why they love to turn it upside down, just to let you know that a straight line upside down, this is the furthest from the truth, basically. Because the truth is, especially when you put some curves on it, and you'll even find it in what you would perceive as a straight line until you get under the microscope. But this pentagram does not come from these people, man. Wake up. It does not come from these so-called Illuminati. Okay? It comes from this ocean. And this ocean is a part of us. It is us. We can harness the pure potential of unhindered, unsluggish life.